name is Jason Hyman, Athletic Flooring Division Manager with Schmidt Custom Floors. I'm here at a random gym floor in the Milwaukee area, experiencing what some of you sometimes come across, which are some dead spots. This particular floor is 30 years old, and there's multiple reasons for why a dead spot might occur, but in this particular case, like any, we need to reconcile what system you have, and if the process I'm suggesting is something that you could actually consider. So in this particular case, we have 2x4s that are laid flat, so perpendicular to the maple. They're 16 inches on center. There's a secondary 1x6 actually at this angle in this orientation, and that's adhered to the 2x4. And then we have 25, 32nd, 2 1/4 maple running the lengthways of the gym. So what they're experiencing is a lot of sound, squeaks, literally can't bounce the basketball, and it's creating some havoc on what do we do? Do we tear this floor out? Is there some alternatives we have for some repair, or is there something we can maybe do in-house to see or reconcile if it's a fixable thing? So on the side, you don't have to show it, but I went to the side knowing the sleepers run this way, and I wanted to see where the spacing runs in orientation to, in this case, I believe this is the north wall. We had 106 inches to one sleeper and 123 inches to another sleeper, roughly, but 16 inches on center. And I correlated that to two areas in the basketball court, left side layup, right side layup, that really are dead. You bounce the ball, it doesn't bounce back at all. And so I came through, we figured out those measurements, we taped off some areas, and we're gonna talk today about what are some things you can consider when you're dealing with dead spots. So in this particular case, a question came up, do I have any life of my floor? And this is an actual piece of this floor taking on the side of the bleachers over there. Arguably would have been sanded at any point. This floor has been sanded in the last 30 years. And I don't know if it comes into view there, but you can see the tongue side of the maple, the groove side of the maple, and essentially what determines if you can sand your floor or not is how much life is above this tongue before the top of the maple, because there's either going to be cleats or staples, and in this situation you can actually see a singular nail. Well, that was close to the wall as well, which normally would be a singular, like 18 gauge nail, but for the most part, the rest of the floor over where I took this off, they were 1/2 inch staples, and they looked to be a 2-inch staple that was used. So in a normal gym floor, 25, 30 seconds, according to the MFMA, you can sand your gym floor roughly 5 to 6 times with an idea that you're gonna take about a 32nd of an inch off of the maple every time. But that's really what's gonna compromise this maple in general, regardless of your gym, is you get that maple down to the tongue, nails start to expose themselves in your gym, and you've really lost the integrity of the tongue holding the groove of the adjacent board. That really isn't the case here. So the second thing I did, and you may not have in your school, but you can certainly get on Amazon.com, is a 1/2 inch spherical magnet. And there's a roll of them right here. And we wanted to see, hey, maybe this floor didn't have enough nails, right? So just to give you an idea, those magnets are on my hand here, and they really can tell and pick up essentially where those nails are nailed in. So in your gym, conversely to this, you might very well have sleepers, some odd distance on center, and you can tell if this was nailed directly to a sleeper. You can actually tell if the 2x4 was nailed to directly, if that 2x4 was on end because you would have a tighter line, or if it's on a random topical subfloor like we have here, meaning you have 2x4s, yes, but because of the 1x6 layer, you're actually nailing at a 12-inch on center or under. So what we do, and hopefully we can pan down and show this, we're gonna take these magnets, essentially run them across the joint, and it's gonna find where that nail is. And you can see there's a nail right there. And I'm gonna take it from there, take it down further. We're gonna find out if we have a nail. There's one right there. So we're roughly, I'm not going to take a tape measure, that's roughly 12 inches on center, which is about the max you want for installation. Because these magnets are so strong, I have to skip a row. So I'm going to go into this row, just see what we have for nailing schedule. So in this situation, I already did this using all of these magnets, and we found universally in a couple of spots that the nailing schedule, at least in those couple of spots, was 12 inches on center or less. But in your gym, like I said, these magnets are revealing. You might be able to find that these magnets all line up in a row, and then the next time that they catch is right here, and they line up in a row, and then you got a row here. If that row is really tight, that means the only place I could nail was on that tight, maybe 2x4 on end, revealing that that's the space that you installed it originally. Or it may have a randomness with a 2x4 width. And you might have a little randomness, but they're all pretty much in a row. In those instances, what I'm showing today is a process that really can help you reveal if we have a structural issue with the maple itself holding, or if maybe you have movement with concrete over time, or the subfloor is just not sitting flat on the substrate. For example, if I use a nail and I nail it into a 2x4, I can't do that while holding it in the air. And that's very similar to a dead spot in your floor. If I use the product that I'm showing, we're basically taking away that void. It hardens over the course of 24 hours, and you'll tell real quick if there's actually still a problem or not, and it's something you can do in-house. So what are we looking to use? Firstly, we need a 5/16 inch drill bit, long enough to get through your subfloor in the cavity. That's the first part. Second part is we want to tape off some sections between those 2x4s so I can at least get that the drill bit between the 2x4s in without obstructing itself by going into the 2x4, because obviously there's no cavity beneath the 2x4 to be able to even do anything. The third option, or third product, and we used to use Great Stuff, non-expandable window and door, but we found that the Loctite acts very similar to a floor pad that you already have in many gyms today. So the Loctite window and door, it's very specific. You cannot use the expandable stuff because it'll actually lift your floor. But what we're doing today is we're drilling a hole between the cavity. We're going to use an entire can of Great Stuff in that cavity. And tomorrow or the next day, you can find out if you can dribble a ball in that area and have a dead spot or not. And that's going to help you reveal if you have an issue or not. If this doesn't work, the second possible consideration, and we've done this before, is you can remove the maple linear or perpendicular to the 2x4 and actually re-anchor the 2x4 itself, put a new board in down that line, but you should probably consider resanding your gym floor at that time because you're going to have a lot of wood that's higher in those areas. If it's only one or two spots, there is a laminate option, which essentially means a pre-finished board. If you took this board, for example, and I only had this top layer pre-finished, but I didn't have the tongue or the bottom of it, I can actually route your floor out, take this board and use epoxy and glue it in place, and it's usable in 5 minutes. But what I can do beneath that is actually use a countersink bit, the same drill bit, and anchor the whole floor right down to the substrate, and then put in the laminate board. So that's an option as well. But what we're showing today is essentially the Loctite. In about 15 years or so, we've used this on about 100 gyms. I would say on average, 80% of the time, it revealed that it works, and it worked awesome. We have a couple of gyms, some of them Division I colleges in Wisconsin. One in particular has 85 of these that was installed, and it worked in all 85 spots. So it's something you can do as a staff. Certainly can hire out if you want, but it's something you can do yourself. Once that dries, which I usually suggest waiting till the next day, you can use any putty you like, but we like to use plastic wood because it dries really fast. And essentially you're just pushing down that foam in the hole, and then you're filling it with putty. It dries in about 10 minutes. If you're over a colored free throw lane like this, in this situation, we're gonna use a purple marker, but color of your choice. If it's in random wood, you can get wood putty that obviously looks like the color of wood already. In this particular gym, it has a pretty good patina of oil base, so you'd probably use something like a red oak if it's in the regular wood section, just because it's already that color. All right, so let's get to it. Let's do a section. I'm gonna take my drill bit. If you can see on camera, this is where I measured the 2x4 extended to the wall, and the 2x4 extended to the wall. So I already did one drill bit, one hole here, but this right here is approximately in the center of the sleeper itself. So I'm gonna go through that, and I should feel it not have resistance once I get down beneath that 1x6. It should feel like there's a cavity in there, and that's what I'm looking for. Trying to get to that cavity so I can essentially fill it with this product and see if it takes that dead spot away. So again, in this instance, we have 6 cans of great stuff. We have 8 spots we're gonna fill total. So I'm gonna have to use a little in one spot, some in the other, etc. Kind of, make it vary itself throughout the floor here. But let's get the drill bit in here. So right there, I can feel the cavity. I'm in it entirely. Vacuum that off real quick. Take my Loctite. I already shook it, but give it another shake here. Snap off. Basically use this entire can in this hole. For sake of example, so I'm not sitting here for a couple minutes, we'll use about half the can, and I'll use the rest in the remainder. But again, the idea here is to fill the void. Any voids beneath the 2x4, any voids beneath the 1x6 adhere to the 2x4, any potential voids from the maple to the 1x6. So this is essentially finding its way into any nook and cranny. All right, that's good. You can see why we put tape on here, because if you just did the drill hole and had this sticky stuff, this residue on there, it'll take you forever to get it off. So what we're going to do is allow that to sit overnight, maybe Monday in this situation because it's Friday. We're going to take our plastic wood, push that down after we pull the tape off, put the plastic wood in there, 10-15 minutes later, use our marker, and we're set to go. We'll see if it works. Thanks for listening.